board met tonight in executive session. We're now ready to continue with the public portion of our meeting. The superintendent's report. As some of you know, Joanne Diglio, who is the mother of Amanda Goodman, who teaches at Ridgewood Avenue School, passed away about a week or so, 10 days ago. And I wanted to say a few words about Joanne. She was a consummate volunteer in this town. She was especially, from our perspective, a leading light of the Art Parents Association, now the Art Patrons Association. For many years, she was one of two people who were mainstays of the Arts Festival and really were responsible for the success of that. And she was just a lovely person, always willing to help out. She had a career, she had a family. She fought a courageous battle with cancer at the end, and this town is in her debt. So please remember Joanne Diglio and her family in your thoughts and prayers. Superintendent's report.
Just same thoughts as Betsy had. I actually taught one of her children, actually two of her children. So I've known the family for probably close to 20 years. It's very difficult for them. She's a terrific woman who put family first, or put the marriage close second. Superintendent's report. I first want to recognize the award recipients of the Governor's Educator of the Year and the Educational Service Professionals that were recently determined, and I sent out an email today announcing it. There's a process that the Governor has put in place to recognize educators in each of our buildings. We did not do Central because we only had 4 teachers in there. I just didn't want to start that kind of environment at that level yet. So when that starts getting populated, Central will join. But we had an extensive list of nominees, a lot of individuals who are deserving of the award, but the selection committee had to come up with 2 winners from each school. At Linden Avenue School, Teresa Messinio and Francesca Rosselli were named the winners. At Forest Avenue School, Jody Walsh and Charlene Riley. At Ridgewood Avenue School, Alyssa DeSimone and Julianne Beckman. And at the high school, Andrew Schoen and Lindsay Deptua. On a future board meeting, I will invite them to come in so we can recognize them, along with some other staff members who have earned some recognition and have put in 25 years of service. So we're getting that, maybe not in the next board meeting, but the first one in March. Construction update. As I've been telling some people, I'm starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting close. And I think anyone who has gone through construction knows how frustrating that end of the tunnel can be, because it's just, you want that the projects to finish up, and you want the contractors just to really just put the foot on the pedal and get it done. But as we're sitting here, there's still some things that need to be done. Starting with Central School, we're almost there. We have little things here and there. The High Street doors have to be done. There's a ladder that gives access to the roof that needs to be installed. Some punch list items, and really it's the elevator inspection that's holding us up. The inspector wanted some things that, although we had an operating elevator from the last occupants, that they wanted some things changed. So we're working on with the elevator inspector and the town inspector to clarify what needs to be done and we'll get that up to code. At Ridgewood Avenue School, they're continuing to work on the cooling component, where they're running the pipes, the cooling pipes to the unit ventilators in the classrooms, and they're connecting the chiller, making those connections into the boiler room. Forest Avenue School, the chiller was put in, the switchgear was put in. Basically now we're looking to power up those units, but unfortunately PSNG SCG has not installed the new power source yet. We're trying to get a commitment from SCG to put in the new power source. Once that happens, we'll be running the wires from the power source to those units. We're currently running wiring from those units into the boiler room, and we're also connecting the chilled water pipes to the chiller into the boiler room. So very close to being completed there, and then there's going to be some punch list items that will need to be done also. Linden Avenue is in a very similar situation this week. Last week they completed the trenching, filled it back up, so the conduit was run, and on Friday they put the blacktop on. Today they set the chiller and switchgear. Linden Avenue has the advantage that the new power source has been put in, so they're start running those conduits, which should take about a week or so. And then also running the pipes from the chiller into the boiler room. I know we're all at a place where we'd like to see this completed. I'm aware of some chattering that's happening at Linden Avenue. Ideally, when we went into this job, we were hoping to get this done in October. That hasn't happened for a variety of reasons. As far as delays, as the unit ventilators didn't come to us until October, so that put a big delay on the project. We had a large amount of asbestos that had to be removed. They closed down the school 2 weeks during the summer, and then we had additional time where we had to make repairs from that removal, which got us into the school year, and we weren't able to work as freely in the building and had as much time as we would over the summer months. Our project manager and our contractor are very optimistic that the end is near, and we're about 95% done. We're continuing to have bi-weekly meetings, talk about safety, making sure all our protocols are being followed, and we'll continue to move forward in that direction. And Ridgewood Avenue, we are working coming up with a temporary solution to the auditorium meeting, or that is not heating at a level that we want to. So we're going to find a temporary solution and work on a permanent solution with our contractor and our engineer and architect firm as we move forward with that.
Thank you. We've now reached the public comment portion of our meeting. First public comment is for agenda items only. If you have a comment or question, raise your hand. I will recognize you. Please go up to the podium where there is a microphone, sign in, and then we have a 2-minute limit on questions. If you can ask us all, if you have multiple questions, ask them all up front, and then we will do our best to address them. So are there questions or comments? Yes? Go up to the microphone, please, so we can hear you.
Construction updates is on the agenda? Right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so 2 minutes.
Yes, your name, please?
Rich Wilkins, Mayolas Avenue.
Thank you.
First, who is responsible for interfacing with the construction company and the external project manager from this board? And then, who is responsible for publishing forecasts of the work to come up, a work breakdown structure of what's being done and when? Where are the published safety protocols for all of the schools? To this point, we have not really seen anything. All the communication I feel, I'm not sure about the other parents, has been vague and inaccurate at best. I've had multiple conversations with a member of the board, and each time it's been, we're close, we're close, we're close. I don't believe that we are close until I can see something in writing that says what will be done by who, when. Who gives me that information?
Okay. Those are all the questions? Okay, thank you. Paul, do you want to address that?
Sure. So as you mentioned, we have a construction manager on this project, and the district has declined. We, the board, provide oversight to the administration. Right? We don't manage the project on a day-to-day basis. We have a buildings and grounds supervisor and a business administrator, and who attend these meetings on a regular basis with the advice of the construction managers. And at each and every meeting, and they're meeting regularly, they publish meeting minutes. Those meeting minutes then become available to the board for review.
Available to us?
I believe at one time we had meeting minutes posted, is that correct?
No, we were
No.
posting this construction update.
Construction updates on our website. There is, I hope you're aware.
It's been a while.
It hasn't been updated in a while. So, yeah, so perhaps we could do a better job of updating it, certainly. And let me try to recall your other question. So it's
Work breakdown structure?
work
Who's
break.
doing what, when are they gonna be done? What is the work project schedule going forward?
Right, and
Schedule,
so,
safety protocols.
understood. So I believe you're, sounds like you're generally conversant with the construction process.
Project.
Very good. So we have Epic is our construction manager on the project.
Where of them?
They are working very routinely, again, with the GC on the projects to provide that documentation. And as you're aware, because of the uncertainties associated with construction, those are regularly being updated, and they're not always on schedule, or they don't always go at per plan, so to speak.
Right, I think the issue is we don't have sight to the updates or even the plan. And I think everybody's a little frustrated with the lack of communication from the board.
So I think there is, if I recall correctly, there is a very simplified, I recognize, schedule on the construction website that we, and I don't believe that has changed materially.
What would it be, whenever there's a Board of Ed meeting, I put out Board of Ed highlights, and I do provide an update on the construction projects.
If I provide an example of what I think we're looking for,
Sir,
Monday, Tuesday, this is going to be done. Wednesday, Thursday, this will be done.
So I believe I understand what you're looking for, and that sort of updates are what are documented at the routine project management meetings. It's what's reported in the meetings that are then available to the board members for oversight, not to the public. And then they are summarized in these routine construction reports that the superintendent has been providing to the public. And yes, considerably we may do a better job of updating the website accordingly. So safety protocols are, as you, again, because you're conversing with construction, you recognize that's the number one item in every meeting, right?
Are you aware that the ceiling fell out
sir,
of the
please,
gym?
this is not a dialogue. This is us trying to cope with your questions. We understand your questions.
So again, obviously, we all, I think, recognize that first and foremost, our primary responsibility is the safety of the children and the occupants and the faculty in these schools. This is a very difficult project, as you might imagine. It feels like open heart surgery when you replace all of the mechanical systems in buildings that are at least 100 years old. So this has not been a small undertaking on our behalf. And at each and every turn of that project, we've made safety kind of first and foremost. And from what I've observed in the meeting minutes, and I do read them closely each and every time they're published, and am also someone with who's kind of career spent in construction, I have not found anything that I thought was alarming, or certainly anything that I thought would in any fashion risk the health and safety of the occupants of the building.
Other questions? Yes.
I'm Mike Sillip, and I live on Manlis Avenue as well. Just jotting my name down here.
Thank you.
My question is about the safety protocols. I don't question your concern. I don't question anyone's concern about the safety of our kids. But I'm a little concerned perhaps about how well the safety protocols are being enforced. My son goes to aftercare. We've seen the door propped open. We've seen the door unlocked. We've seen people driving around on the playground with their kids out there, construction people, jackhammers going off at 8 o'clock in the morning. One of my neighbors has a video of this with great clouds of smoke billowing, not smoke, dust presumably, blowing around. So maybe this is more of a comment than a question, but I think I can speak for a lot of parents that we've talked to anyway, that we certainly would like to see the safety protocols enforced much more stringently, or maybe on a daily basis. Somebody on site should be just checking to make sure that these people, I understand what their job is. Their job is to get done and move on and make money somewhere else. That's the way the business works, the way the world works. But perhaps somebody on site might be able to just make sure that the door is not propped open and reinforce to the construction people not to drive on the playground until the aftercare people have been told to round up the kids and put them in a safe place. Because that's not happening on a regular basis, and it's very, very troubling.
And rightfully so. So first, I want to thank you both
Yes, thank
for
you.
making the time and coming, alerting us to these concerns. We are aware that some of these incidents, such as doors being propped open, people not carrying appropriate badging and the like. The reason I, as a board member, am aware of it is because we're the construction manager who's providing that oversight that I believe you're seeking, is reporting this to the district on a routine basis and making it, again, part of each and every meeting minutes or discussion that they have with the contractors trying to enforce this and the like. There is, as you described, there's this, perhaps in some instances, this effort to cut corners, right, to be more expedient, as you're suggesting, on behalf of the company. But our construction manager's role and responsibility is first to assure that oversight, that daily oversight that you're requesting, and ultimately assure the safety of all the occupants. We recognize that the noise is and does is an inconvenience, and I certainly would agree that none of our students should be in the vicinity of that activity. And frankly, again, from what we're hearing as a board, all of those protocols have been observed. In fact, we hear from other constituents, other parents, that in fact they're being denied playtime because we're trying to isolate and prevent them from coming in contact with this activity. So
That's sort of,
Sorry.
I know this is a dialogue, so.
Sorry, it's not a dialogue, but we note your concern, and obviously we need to redouble our efforts in this area. There may never be too much safety, and that's something that we are very aware of. And I should say my colleague Paul Romano is chair of the Finance and Facilities Committee and also licensed architect.
yes.
I can jump in on that. Well, just the door thing is what has a lot of parents really worried.
Thank you. Thank you. Noted. Other questions or comments? Okay, there is a second public comment period at the end of the meeting for agenda or other items. All right, it is not the first meeting of the month, so we do not have mayor liaison reports unless there is something that is very time sensitive. Anything? No? All right. In your package, you had minutes from the meeting of January 2nd, 2020, executive session and regular meeting. I trust that you have all been over those meeting minutes. Does anyone have any additions or revisions? No? You can make them all to memory? Okay, if that is the case, Michael, would you move the minutes?
Yeah, we've done one.
May I have a second? Second from Anthony. All right, moved and seconded. If there's no further comment, Margo, would you call the roll? Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Morgan? Mr. Lang? Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. Albert? Aye. Dr. Jackson? Aye. Ms. Ginsburg? Aye. Okay, administrative items. In the absence of Mr. Campbell, our Vice President, Michael, would you move these as well?
Sure, I'll move to table 1 and 2.
Okay. May I have a second? Second. Second from Ally. Any questions or comments on HIV was discussed in executive session? So I presume there are no further comments. That's the case. Barbara, would you call the roll? Mr. Bonnet?
we're having two coaches, and they're splitting those salaries. So they'll have one head coach, one assistant.
Okay. Okay, thanks. All right, we can continue with the roll call. Aye. All right, curriculum. Michael, would you move the curriculum item?
Yes, we'll do C1.
Okay, these are all field trips for our students. Any discussion on the various parts of C1? Okay. Been moved and seconded. They have a second. Second from Heather. Now we've been moved and seconded. Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Belladucci? Aye. Mr. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Lang?
Aye.
Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer? Aye. Dr. Alexander?
Aye. All right, Paul, would you move business items?
I'd like to move items B1 through B5, which is inclusive of the agenda.
May I have a second? Second from, I think, Teresa got it. Okay, any questions or comments on these business items, which include financial reports, district placements, workshops and conferences, and change orders? Questions or comments? All right, seeing none, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Belladuci? Mr. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Lang?
Aye.
Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer? Aye. Dr. Alexander? Aye.
Aye. All right, we have very quickly come to the second public comment period for questions or comments on agenda or other items pertaining to the schools. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Mrs. Hall.
Greta Sawa, Glen Ridge.
Thank you.
First a comment, then a question. I am a P&P, project management professional also. I don't get much credit for that, but and I've done both construction and logistics projects have been my career specialties. Just so you know, I have raised deep concerns along similar lines. So when they say they haven't heard things that concern them, let me just name some of the things that I brought up that haven't concerned them. Teachers and parents were alarmed by the coating of dust in the 3 schools. In August, it was only because some of us raised a ruckus that in Ridgewood Avenue, they were told to clean it themselves, the teachers. That doesn't concern them. Have you put the bathroom door in Ridgewood Avenue on the lower level on the boys' room yet? And also, I've had to repeatedly raise the concern of no heat, which went well into the winter. And again, I'm being told I haven't heard anything that concerns me yet. No heat doesn't concern it. Okay. Bathroom door in the boys' room, and then I have a question.
I'm sorry. Please ask all your questions at once so we can take care of that one at one time.
Yeah. Several meetings ago, you said you were about to sign a contract with the teachers, but we've had no updates on that. Is it signed, and if it's not, when will it be signed? And is there a problem? Is there a delay? What's an update?
Okay, is that all the questions?
For now.
Well, if you have others, please give them to us now. Please?
I'm finished for now.
Okay, so you can sit down.
I don't have to.
Well, you're not going to ask me a question.
You know, I feel that you're singling me out for
No,
being
we have a way
a
of-
for obnoxious.
This is not a dialogue. Mrs. Sawa, if you have other questions, please give them to us so that we can
I don't
take
know
care of
what
them.
you're going to say. I don't have any at this moment.
Well,
That's the
then
best
take
answer
a
I
seat,
can give you.
please. Take a seat, please.
Why? You've let other people stand up here and ask follow-up questions if they still had time. That's all I want.
Mrs. Sawa,
You
please
let
take a
people
seat.
yell it from the audience.
Please take a seat.
special rules for special people.
All right, let's start with the comments with regard to dust, bathroom door in Ridgewood, and heat.
Well, so the question was about the bathroom door. There has not been a bathroom door installed in the basement. That was not part of the plan. Historically, there was never a bathroom door at that location, and that's a discussion that I've had with the administration. It gives them a little bit of oversight in the hallway with being able to better hear what's happening. There is no direct view into that bathroom. There are partitions, so no one can see into that bathroom.
Right, in my professional experience, that's not unusual.
Okay. The contract. Do you want to take this, Michael?
Sure. So
Michael is chair of negotiations.
Yeah, we agree on all principal points. One of the things that happens when we enter into a contract with groups like the GREA, is that we go on your salary agreement. So we are just finishing up the process of doing that as part of the contract. And so we're
I don't understand what you said.
okay. You need to come up with salary guides. Have you ever looked at a teacher's contract? You have to come up with salary guides. That's what we're finished right now. You know, all the books, it's just the salary guides have been signed off.
So the other question, one of them was,
Is-
when do you finish? I already asked it, when will you be finished?
Well, we're done it, or it wasn't done, and then it has to be ratified by the board, it also has to be ratified.
And they're ratified by the board in a public vote. The GREA has a dedicated meeting. When both sides have ratified the contract and we have signed it, then it will become a public document and we will report out on it. That's the way we always address contracts.
ETA,
I'm sorry?
estimated time taken?
I haven't spoken to the, it will be soon, but I have not spoken to the union on an exact date. I think that they have to set a union meeting. And it is,
That's not in our control, so.
yes,
We can control what? We can control when we meet, we can control what when we vote on it. We can't control when they're going to ratify the contract.
Can I respond?
no.
Okay.
There is goodwill on both sides. As everyone knows, we signed a memorandum of agreement that is an agreement in principle of all the points that we discussed with the union. Salary guides do take time because they are very extensive, and we want to make sure we get it right. So I think it's forthcoming very soon, but the union has not told us when they plan their meeting. Okay, any other questions or comments on agenda or other items? Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Nadia Licker. I live on Appleton Road. I think two meetings ago, a mom was talking about class size, specifically for the kindergartners now and to-be first graders. So they're the class that isn't going to benefit from the capacity increase of Central School. So she made a eloquent discussion on
She did.
for chorus, and I just wanted to reiterate the same exact thing for Linden. So my son is at Linden. We have the same exact concern that Linden is also maxed out, and been emailing Dr. Carvella, so I just wanted to see if it was on the agenda for the budget for specifically Linden School.
Okay, the budget process is just beginning. I know that the administrators discuss all the pressure points within the system, including class size. So it's a question of looking at our available resources, trying to figure out what state aid we will get, which we don't know until usually the end of February, and then putting the whole picture together, trying to address each pressure point in the best way possible with the deployment of the available resources. So we have noted your concern. Those of us on the finance committee will remember it particularly, but we will all take note of it, so thank you. Other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Lazine. I live on Carteret Street.
Thank you.
appreciate your time on this stuff. My dad was an architect for schools in the state of New York, so was very involved with these things. A couple of questions. So communication. What can we do to improve overall communication out to parents as to like what's happening with like any type of construction, what the expectations are, what the engagement is for, or the consequence to the students or to the parents of what they have to deal with, or what can be done to improve that. There was a mention of 95, that the projects were like 95% done. Sorry to be prescriptive on this, but like,
It's okay.
how close are we really to getting this done? I mean, 95% means next week, you know, so I just want to get a real sense as to where we stay with that. And then one other point, while we're on the topic of construction and such, at Linden, on the, say like on the north side, there's like a retaining wall that is like cracked and like kind of looks like it's gonna break through or something. I think there's a tree there. Don't really know how retaining walls are built, so not sure if it's a danger or not, but would appreciate if somebody could look into that. It's probably about 20 feet to the right of the American flag that's painted on the wall.
Okay,
And that's it.
thank you. Okay, starting with communications, I think that we've established that we need to do a better job with communications. Do you want to add?
I will speak with our construction manager and get something more up to date. As far as scheduling wise, we get an update about every 2 weeks of where they're at, and that's constantly being adjusted. I know a lot of my updates, at least with the central school, I felt like every update kind of repeated itself because the previous task did not get completed, or the inspector didn't, whatever the reason was. So I'll be more than happy to put something together.
Okay, 95%. Can you define 95%? Paul?
Yes, I can. In fact, that's at the discretion of the architect, right? So the architect eventually advises the owner what percentage of the value of the work has been completed. And when we say 95%, what we're suggesting is 95% of the value, not necessarily 95% of what you see, right? And unfortunately, what people observe at this late stage of the project are the things that are, you know, perhaps most visually evident, like the front doors that have yet to go into Central, or the electric service that has yet to be brought into Forest Avenue School, or the elements like this. But when you look at the budget itself, those may be relatively small percentages of the budget. So that's why we're quoting these percentages. That's customary in construction projects. There's something called the schedule of values, and that's how payments are made. There's also a retainer that is on the project, which is approximately at this point about 5%, so we're running right up against the very last kind of punch list items. And in terms of progress in general, I think Mr. Phillips has already spoken to the fact that we've got kind of unique circumstances in each building that present different problems, different challenges. We don't have electric service, as we noted, at Forest at this moment. We have this elevator, this interpretation of the code on behalf of the elevator, a code official at Central that's preventing us from occupying the second and third floor of the building at the moment. But when you look at the financial value of those elements, they're relatively minor, a very large referendum. But at this time, and we're bound, I want to remind everyone that we are bound to the referendum financial limit that the public approved, so we cannot exceed that. So,
Thank you. Other questions or comments? We don't, but you can always address them to the board. I'm sorry?
Can I do it right now, or not?
No, but you can't address them.
Second,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you can
This
add
is the
more
second
minutes.
session.
You can have
Smart
2 minutes.
people manage time and money.
What's that?
No, we are the sound call.
I'm not a project manager, but I work in communications. And I just would like to impress upon, perhaps, actually, I'm not going to do any impressing upon it. Perhaps the board can, Mr. Phillips can, on the contractor, that when you have this many number of stakeholders, which is basically every parent on the south end of this limited project, you have to communicate frequently and well and completely. You can't do this as if you're doing a job for Johnson & Johnson or Prudential or something like that. And that, I think, would solve a lot of problems. And I think everyone here realizes that, but I'm not so sure that EPIC understands that. So perhaps, I'm about to phrase it as a question, I know it's not Jeopardy, this show's over right now, would be, can we perhaps remind them of the importance of communicating to our parents on the south end what's going on, as one of my neighbors said earlier, who's doing it, when's it gonna get done, and that whole thing, who, what, and when. That's basically, and I think a lot of people feel a lot better about that as long as making sure the doors are locked.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Oh, no, no,
Sorry.
it's me, you guy. You had my name on the book.
Sorry, there's always time.
Mark Theophilus, Glenridge. So, just hard numbers. What was the last ETA date that the construction manager provided you for completion? Will you consider postponing construction until the summer if that date is not good enough? And when is the heat going to come back on? And also, when we have fire drills on cold days, can we let the kids get their jackets before we send them outside?
Okay, ETA from construction manager, do you want to take that?
So I do not recall offhand what the completion date was. My recollection is that it's approximately in about a month or so from now, and that's what's posted to the website. And I believe that we are on schedule. However, I'll ask that the superintendent update the website with the most recent completion date, right? But to my knowledge, it has not been revised. Questions relating to postponing the project, that would represent a cost to all professionals. I don't see an advantage at this point
What about the kids?
in doing so.
There's an advantage to the children.
We believe, again, we believe we're proceeding with the safety of the children first and foremost in mind. And obviously, we're also trying to be prudent with our finances here, not to delay the project.
Part of drilling is going through a realistic simulation of what would occur. And in a real situation, we're not going to tell the kids to grab their jackets or go out to their guns. And that happens with how many fire drills. There's also concerns with with emergency drills and should we be informing the students what we're getting from the Department of Education or School Preparedness and Emergency. Their recommendation and best practice is not to inform students of these drills because they're not reacting in a way that would be similar to a life situation. As far as heat, the heat has been on in the buildings. I'm not sure. I know one Monday morning, a few of the classrooms, the blowers were off. We called the contractor, and within 30 minutes, the heat was back on. I'm in the buildings 2 to 3 times a week. I have not seen a situation where like the building does not have heat. And I encourage you, if your child's saying something, to reach out to Mr. Caravella and find out the situation. He's going throughout the building every day, multiple times, and he'd be able to tell you the situation, but I'm not aware of it. I was informing the board. It's been an unusual experience for me as I walk through Linden, Forest, and especially Ridgewood, where in the past you got those cold rooms and those overheated room, and you're walking through the building now, and it's a very consistent temperature, except for the auditorium at Ridgewood, which we're working on. But as far as classrooms, they've been consistent. The heat has been up and functioning for months now. So I'm unaware of any situation where classrooms do not have heat.
But again, if it is a concern, speak to Mr. Carabello. He's the man on the spot who can remedy the situation. Other questions or comments? Oh, Mr. Tron.
Harris Turan, I'm a Glenridge resident. I was going to try and work through another meeting without getting up here, but I just wanted to respond in regards to the children getting their jackets, because I just came from another program that was, I wouldn't say sponsored, but it was about talking to your kids about lockdowns and such that's going on across in Bloomfield.
And Temple near to me.
At Temple near to me, and I had to leave there to come here, but the therapist who was working that program suggested specifically that traumatizing our children with active shooter drills and real life, what would happen in real life, so we want them to practice that now. She said is actually traumatizing the children, like telling them they have to go out and be cold in case there's a real fire is maybe counterproductive to what some of the actual best practices by some of the therapists and some of the programs out there are saying right now. They're saying the active shooting drills are really traumatizing students, and that I would suggest that if it is a drill, a known drill, that, freezing kids outside, that might give them a little bit of trauma in so much. She was talking about little traumas and big traumas, and we should really be working on making sure that the kids are safe and doing the drills, but also, not so worried that, hey, if this happens, I'm going to go outside and freeze. And while I'm up here, I'd like to follow up on any of the GRACE information that we said we would get at this meeting.
Sure.
As a couple of meetings that we had scheduled were abruptly canceled.
Sure.
I'll go sit down.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips, Ms. Ginsburg, and I are scheduled to attend the next GRACE meeting, which will be, I believe it's March 18th, which is a Wednesday. Also, previously, Ms. Ginsburg and Mr. Phillips and I met and we discussed some of the items that had come up during my discussions with Grace. And as we said several times, and you brought up Mr. Turan, there was concern in the district about additional Orton-Gillingham training. There's been some concern about the number of leave replacements in the district in general, but specifically in the special ed departments. And then another item that was brought up was some concern amongst the parents for access to gen ed curriculum so that they can have a sense of where the special ed and gen ed curriculums overlapped and coincided. And so that's...
Litigation tactics?
I'm sorry?
Litigation tactics, did that come up in the discussion?
No, not litigation tactics. There was a discussion about how the process went when there was a discussion about placements. So litigation specifically, no.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Other questions or comments? Oh, yes.
Larry Lynn, Glenridge. Understand the children at Linden have been having indoor recess as construction is ongoing. And construction expected to take at least another month. Is there any effort to have them go outside during the day instead of keeping them in a room
such as this for recess.
Thank you.
So the Linden Avenue students have been outside occasionally, and we've had a couple situations where we've kept them inside, some due to construction. I know when they were cutting the asphalt, they didn't want them outside for obvious reasons. Some of it's weather related. With the trench work being done and the asphalt completed, we can imagine the students will be out more frequently, weather permitting, and I know they were out today. And I know that there's been several times in the past couple of weeks that they've been out. But we're trying to get them out as much as possible, with also keeping the construction on pace as much as possible. So it's a little bit of balance in that. So when they have tasks that we believe might endanger or be a little health risk to the students, and such as the asphalt cutting, we're not going to have the students out. But I don't foresee those issues since that component of the job is done.
Other questions or comments? Okay, there being none, may I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Michael, may I have a second? Second. Thank you all.